For more than a month I've been using the AMC, the Apollo monitor correction from Universal Audio, instead of my really expensive Trinnov Nova. And now I'm thinking about selling the Nova. Today I want to share my experience and what I think about the AMC, because it's been more than a month since I've put it to its paces without using the Trinnov Nova. My goal in this time frame was to use the AMC exclusively, just to see how it performs when it comes to mixing, when it comes to mastering, if I feel the need to go back to the Trinnov. Apollo monitor correction versus the Trinnov Nova. What we are really comparing. In a previous video I've made a mistake and I've said that we are comparing hardware with a software solution. That's not actually true. The Nova is a hardware unit that has a CPU inside it that runs all the correction needed. Also, the Apollo monitor correction runs on the Universal Audio DSP. So basically we are comparing a similar system. So the AMC is not just a software solution, it's integrated in the Universal Audio hardware. When we are talking about prices, now we are comparing similar systems in similar price ranges. But the Universal Audio wins for me here because their interfaces are so much more than just a room correction software, even though the Trinnov Nova is a dedicated solution when it comes to room correction. If you already have an Apollo interface, then the AMC is just an add-on that you purchase and you are good to go. I think that's a major plus and a nice addition for the owners of the Apollo interfaces. First, I want to talk about how the AMC actually works. The Apollo monitor correction is a collaboration between Universal Audio and SonarWorks. They joined forces and they made the AMC. SonarWorks is one of the leading companies when it comes to room correction. They have the Sound ID software. It's a really popular solution when it comes to adjusting the sound of your room and improving the sound of your speakers in your studio. I've been using SonarWorks in the past. I think I was an early adopter, really close to the first version. The setup process is pretty straightforward. It takes some time. I think it's 45 minutes, around that range. You open up Sound ID, you do your measurements with your Apollo interface, and you are good to go. The correction will be applied in AMC. AMC is beautifully integrated in the UAD console. You have it on the right side. You can open it up, you can see your curves, you can bypass it, you can enable it. If you want to tweak the sound of your correction, you can go back to Sound ID, make the tweaks, send it back to the Apollo interface, and again, you are good to go. For me, the entire measuring process is a bit tedious because I've been blessed with the Nova system where you can take just one measurement and you are good to go. With SonarWorks, I think you have to take around 30 or 40 measurements to finalize the measurement. For me, that was a painful process because I like to change things around quite a bit and you have to redo the measurements. But for most of you guys, once you have the measurement, you will probably stick with that measurement for a really long time. Now let's talk about the sound, because that's the key element when we are talking about room correction systems. I've been mixing and mastering all my projects with the AMC for that almost 2-month time frame, and I had no issues with the mixes and the masters translating to the outside world. It doesn't matter if it was small speakers, if there was headphones or even phones, the mixes translated pretty good. With the AMC, I've used a couple of pair of speakers. I've used the ATC SMC25A and the Eves SC3010s, and I've also tested the Amphions. The AMC did a really great job improving the sound of my speakers in this room. You have to consider the fact that my studio isn't perfectly acoustically treated at the moment. I still have a lot of work to do when it comes to the acoustic of this particular space. When it comes to the low end, there was a big improvement with the Eves because those are really massive speakers, and the build-up of bass and the low frequency energies was pretty big, but it did a fairly decent job in creating a more balanced sound when it comes to the eaves. With the ATCs, because there isn't that much low-end information, I felt that the AMC did a better job in correcting the speakers. With both speakers, I was able to create mixes and masters that didn't have any low-end issues. The mid-range and high-end with the AMC on both pair of speakers was pretty easy to correct, and AMC did a beautiful job there. The room is pretty flat. The issues are, like I've said, more in the low end. In the mid-range and top end, things are pretty flat, and I had no issues in mixing vocals or other genres that require to be really careful when it comes to the mid-range. The top end, translated again, my mixes weren't too bright or too harsh. They were similar to what I was used to when it comes to the correction done on the Nova. One thing that I want to mention is the fact that even though with the eaves the correction was pretty strong, because like I've said, the bass response on those is pretty crazy, the correction still felt natural. In the past I was having some issues adapting to the sound of SonarWorks because it sounded a bit artificial, but with the AMC I felt it sounded a bit more natural. I haven't done comparison between the AMC and the Sound ID, but that's something that I want to do in the near future because I think it's a pretty interesting topic. The things that I didn't like about the AMC are just a few. The measurement process, like I've said, it's a bit tedious. The fact that when you disable really fast the correction, you can hear some artifacts, but in a real life scenario, I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that someone in the studio actually working will switch that fast between corrected and bypass. I think that's just an issue that will not bother anyone in a real life scenario. To be honest, I've made this video twice. This is the second time shooting this video because my circumstances have changed. With the perspective of rebuilding my home studio, I think I will be selling the Nova and trying to simplify my setup as much as possible. In my big video where I've invited people over to listen to the Nova and the AMC, we had a split. A lot of the guys preferred the Nova, but also a lot of the guys preferred the AMC. The AMC, when it comes to a real life scenario, does a good job correcting the room, improving the room, and helping you achieve better mixes. Is the Nova better? Probably yes, but I don't think it's so much better than the AMC. The Nova has a couple of advantages with the 3D microphone that allows you to take just one measurement. The Nova has the ability to purchase the La Remote, which is their remote for Trinnov Nova, where you can change anything and everything. That's a beautiful addition to a monitoring system, but that's pretty expensive. I think the La Remote is close to 1,000 euro. Also, the Nova is locked to just 2 outputs. When you purchase it, you have to pay extra to get additional outputs. If Universal Audio releases an update and will let you use multiple pair of speakers with AMC, so you have pair A and pair B both corrected at the same time, I think that will be a game changer. I think that will be amazing for a lot of audio professionals. Right now you can correct the main output and the headphone output. I'm not using the headphones, but that's available too. Also, if Universal Audio makes a remote for their interfaces, I think that would be just amazing. So you can have the units in a rack and you can control all the features. I know that you can use the small Apollo X units. as a monitor controller, let's call it, but those are not small. Those are quite big units, and you pay for the inputs, the preamps. I'm talking about a straightforward controller for the Apollo interfaces. I think that would be just amazing. Those two things are on top of my list when it comes to changes that I wanna have with the Universal Audio ecosystem. Why AMC is winning for me right now? It's easier to integrate in a system. It's right there in the Universal Audio console. With the Nova you have additional cables, you have the need for additional rack space. It's more of a hassle. It sounds as good as the Nova, or I have a pretty similar experience when it comes to my mixes, translating outside the studio with the Nova and with the AMC. If they add those two features in the future, AMC in a home studio, in a semi-pro space like I have here, I think wins hands down. That was my experience with AMC. The software was solid. I had no issues whatsoever, and I think it's a beautifully integrated system that improves and corrects the sound of your speakers. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, drop a like. Thanks for the support, and see you guys really soon. Cheers.